Hello and welcome to another episode of No Bullcrap Reviews. This time we have another one from Spitfire Audio. It's another one of their labs. They keep pumping these out, which is awesome because they are free and they're always extremely quality for free products. It is performed by Micah'S, and what do we have here in this VST? We have Oz, Ooze, and Uz. The choir. Now the choir is cool because depending on how the mod wheel goes, it'll switch between these rather seamlessly. And then we have the looped variants. And then we have 3 warps, which are basically huge sounding vocal pads. So the way I would suggest using this is like Detour's Spell, which is the demo they have on their actual website. Very slow, very emotional. And huge sounding. So that's what I would go for. However, I try and make a actual more melodic piece of music out of every VST I review, so that's what I did. And since it's a very small, intimate sounding choir, I decided to go with a Viking style sound. So let's give that a shot. All we have on here is a little bit of limiting and a little bit of compression, and that is it. No EQ, nothing. So, and then I have for percussion action strikes from native instruments. So let's give this a listen and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So let's talk about this a little bit. First, we have the 2 warps. Now, this is the first one I loaded up, and if you listen to this, that is a big boy sound right there. So as you can tell, I listened to that, and I'm like, all right, we gotta go with something Viking, because this sounds like some dudes just going crazy on a longboat. Same with this. Big sound. I think these are the 2 most useful things in here. I think the actual choir, I don't really care for it as much as their original Labs choir. Now, one of the things I look for when I review or listen to a vocal library is how does it handle fast passages. Now, normally vocal libraries that are smaller in sound like this one, in other words, just like if you compare an orchestral symphonic library to say a chamber strings library, the chamber sounds more close, more intimate, and that's kind of what this is doing. So normally when I review something like that, I go, how does it handle faster passages? Well, normally vocal libraries like this are paid, so they of course have legato, but since this is free, it does not. So this is how it sounds. No, well, not the absolute worst, of course, and it sounds good, especially the quality of the samples. It just, because it's not legato, it's not going to handle those fast passages very well or very convincing. I chose the Ooze for this one because it did handle them the best. But again, you could use this just kind of put it in a score here and there, and I think it would sound rather good. For example, what I did here. Sounds perfectly fine. Now, one thing I did notice, to make these sound a little more convincing, depends on your track. You can go in and adjust the attack, and depending on what you're looking for, very helpful. Now, right here is the choir, and this is the one that, depending on the mod wheel, will shift between the vowel sounds. And this does sound pretty good. So that's that. I mean, it sounds good. There's no denying that. And it could be used for, again, very intimate, small sounding things. But what do I actually think of this on the whole? Again, I like their original choir better. And if you have a vocal library that's paid, or choir that's a paid library, there's no real reason to use this except for the vocal pads do sound nice. They're big. And a lot of their other libraries I've recently reviewed had the problem where they were a little bit heavy in the midsection. That's not a problem with these, which is nice. And the other thing you could use these for, since those are vocal pads, they still have that vocal element, you could put them on top of your paid choir and put them real down low, and that way it'd make them sound bigger. But because vocal libraries, as humans, which is what they're replicating, can only go so high or so low. Since this is a vocal pad, you don't have to worry about that, and it can make it sound even bigger. You just have to be careful not to overdo it. So if you're using this, like, again, their website, Tutorial's Spell here, is how you should use it, and it sounds awesome that way. If you're looking to make something melodic, I wouldn't really suggest this, because again, it has a sort of a early 2000s VST kind of sound when you start going too fast. But when you do it slow, it sounds good. So how would I review this? Again, it's free. There's nothing stopping you from downloading this and trying it out. See what kind of use you can get from it. I personally, if I bought this library, if it was a paid one, you know, it's free, so of course I would be disappointed. It's definitely not their best labs. It's not my favorite one, even remotely. If I gave it a lab score, it would probably be like, I don't know, 2 out of 5. If I gave it just a score, I'd give Free Things a 4 out of 5, maybe a 3 out of 5, something like that. I wouldn't really suggest using it a whole lot, but not to say it doesn't have its purposes. It's just very limited, and I think in what it can do. But what this tells me is that maybe they are working on a paid vocal library, which if Spitfire released a paid vocal library, I would be on that in a second. Because vocal libraries like this, these smaller ones, I do believe are I'm not a software engineer, but it seems to me to be the hardest VSTs to make, because nothing is harder than replicating the human voice. There's tons of good violin libraries out there, tons of good brass libraries, but there's not a whole lot of good vocal libraries out there. So that would be awesome. So guys, if you enjoyed this, if it helps you out, please drop a like and sub, maybe a comment, tell me what you thought, and make sure to go check out the latest pieces of music I dropped, like the one in the style of Witch Queen from the Destiny soundtrack, or the one in the style of a Skyrim piece of music. Anyway guys, hope to see you in the next one. Bye.